Eric George looks way bigger than Aleem Whitefield. We're going to go up to the ring announcer right now with the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get it on. This is the main event of the evening. 6 rounds in the cruiserweight division. Let's introduce our 2 fighters. We'll start in the blue corner. He weighs in at a solid 189 pounds, wearing black trunks. He hails from Niagara Falls, New York. Enters the ring with a record of 2 wins, 6 losses, and no draws. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Eric Night Night George. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, weighing in at a solid 188 pounds, wearing black shorts with red trim. He comes to us from Geneva, New York, and enters the ring with 5 wins, no losses, no draws, and 5 wins by the way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Aleem the Hammer Whitefield. The man in charge of the action when the bell sounds, Charlie Fitch.
I think this is going to be an interesting fight, because we have seen Eric George go to distance, and we've seen him, fight bigger guys. So, he's not going to be intimidated by Whitefield, and I think Whitefield's got a test in front of him. He's fighting a guy that is definitely bigger than him.
Well, like I said, this is the first time I've seen Whitefield, but if he's gained a lot of weight, it looks good on him.
It does, but what I'm saying is that the guy, the first time I saw him, he was a super middleweight. Now he's fighting a cruiserweight, and he wants to take care of business as they both come at it. And it's amazing that they weigh close to the same exact weight, because George looks so much bigger, body-wise. Whitefield seems overconfident, and you got to be careful.
Well, they're both very wild right now.
Well, George isn't exactly refined. His punches are wide all the time, although he just landed a nice,
very nice left
hook. But, he's... Whitefield shows you some speed, but again, you're not seeing much accuracy. As soon as the bigger guys step in the ring, they garner attention. You know what I mean? And you can see why everybody likes to watch the bigger fighters. This is a division that I wish that there was more interest here in the States, because the cruiserweight division is basically the heavyweight division of old. He must have seen some footage or something to make him think that an uppercut is the way to take care of George, because he's really going all out with it.
They're both wild. It's funny, for a guy who's 5-0 with 5 knockouts, Whitefield slaps with a lot of his punches. He did land one of the slapping punches earlier in the round, and he stunned George. So I don't know if that's because he's just got some natural power, or George doesn't have the greatest chin in the world.
Combo of both. But he's definitely letting that uppercut go a lot. Whitefield. The last fight I saw, his knockout came towards the end of the fight, so we'll see what happens with this one. It seems like the jitters are gone, they were both a little wild. Like I said earlier this evening, one thing I like to look at with fighters is their legs, and I look at Whitefield's legs, and they are kind of skinny. What do you think?
Look, you're right. The other guy, Eric George, more compact, bigger frame, even though he's not as tall. Whitefield does he does carry his weight
And we're back. We're in round 2 of a scheduled 6-round fight in the cruiserweight division. Aleem Whitefield is wearing the black trunks with the red trim, and his opponent, Eric George, out of Niagara Falls, is in the solid black trunks. First round was pretty action-packed, Eric. It looks like they both started out a little wild and settled down by the end of the first round. And it seems like they're picking up in this round the way they started the first round.
Well, I think Whitfield trying to be the boxer now. He's trying to use movement, trying to use his longer reach.
Which makes sense, right?
Makes sense, but he's not an accurate puncher. He slaps with his jab. He winds up with that uppercut as he did in the first round.
I just, I don't know if I've ever seen such a total dedication to one punch. They either, saw something or, in film, or they've been working on, like we were saying in a previous fight, if you're working on something, you see a lot of it in the fight, to try to implement. It seems like that's something that he worked on.
Either that or it's something he had success a fight or two ago and thinks he can do it every time.
Yep, you're right. That's why young fighters need experience, right? And that's why they fight guys just like Eric George.
Correct.
But Eric George is coming off of a win, and he is, fighting with some confidence. So, pretty sure he's coming off a win. And you could double check that right now. Yes, he's coming off a 4, as a matter of fact, back-to-back wins against Ray Santiago. One fight that you were at with the at the Turning Stone, and the other one was the last fight that was here.
Correct. And the fight that I did, I thought Santiago could have won that fight. Could have got the decision, I should say.
Yeah, wasn't that Hall of Fame weekend?
No, that was Hall of Fame weekend was another show.
I remember seeing that fight. It was a bloody mess. Santiago was bleeding in that fight. It was close. But hey, his 2 wins back-to-back. And he just landed an uppercut, Eric George. But you're right, his punches don't seem to, as big as he looks, his punches don't seem to have much effect on Whitfield. Seems Whitfield might be breathing a little.
This is
hard.
bad news. They're both tired. It's only the second round.
Well, I heard, although he looks like he's in good shape, I heard that he doesn't like to train, Whitfield. And that's the reason why he keeps going up in weight. And that's a problem. Because, like you said, they both seem a little winded here. And, at 5-0 with 5 knockouts, winning by knockouts, you have a tendency to start believing your own press clippings,
Well, if he doesn't like to train, he's not going anywhere.
It's hard when you have a young fighter who's winning and you're trying to tell him, no, you got to do this, you got to do that. But then he steps in the ring and he knocks his opponent out. It's hard to, sometimes it's almost, you don't want to wish a loss on someone, but sometimes that's what they need to improve, So, but anyway, we're entering the 3rd round of a scheduled 6-round fight in the cruiserweight division. And what seems to have slowed down. Yeah. If the camera was just on Eric Botch's, the look he just gave me.
If we're lucky, because we have 2 very tired fighters, one of them is going to hit the other one with a haymaker.
Well,
otherwise, unless one of them goes to sleep, maybe we'll go to sleep.
I tell you, let's just hope that an uppercut works, because that seems to be the only punch. But Whitfield is breathing extremely hard right now. And it almost looks like he's lost his legs. He doesn't seem like he can move. This could be the fight that teaches him a lesson about the gym, because he's breathing hard. He's seemingly getting frustrated that George is still here. And George, this is what George does. I mean, he might be tired, but this is what he does. He hangs around.
He should. But, look, he's won 2 fights in a row. He should be excited to try to take advantage of this.
I think we're seeing the best of Eric George. I mean, I don't think he is going to get better. Maybe he could. That's probably not fair to say, but we're seeing Whitefield. There he goes with that uppercut again, and it's like his punching power bails him out and then he lands another shot. Ooh, and he just took a solid shot, but I guess he's got a good chin.
Well, what's happened here is both guys being tired realized that there was 4 more rounds. Neither guy wanted to go 4 more rounds, so they're both trying to get the other guy out of there like immediately.
Yeah. Well, Eric George would, if he wins by stoppage, it would be the first one in his career, and he's like lightning. He's not hitting the same spot twice, and Whitefield is just out of gas, man. He's out of gas. I think that's one of the most nerve-wracking things for me when I watch boxing, because you can't criticize a fighter, if his skill set just isn't there, and all of this. But what you can criticize a fighter on is lack of conditioning, because to me that means there's no discipline and no dedication, and you need those assets to fight in the professional boxing business.
Those assets in any business, you're exactly right. But in boxing, when you're in danger, you're really making a mistake by not being in condition.
It's the best investment you can make in yourself, at least be in condition. Now, Whitefield is landing some shots that are landing flush on the chin of Eric George, but fatigue is really setting in for Whitefield. He's just happy, just leaning and fighting without moving much. His hands are totally, they were just dropped at his side.
Look, George, he landed a couple of good shots there, but he doesn't seem to have the power to hurt Whitefield. He's got to hope Whitefield gets even more tired.
I think he might get his wish. We're going to go to the replay right now, and here's a solid shot by Whitefield. That
was by George, that left hook.
George landed a left hook.
Yep.
But one prior to that looked like Whitefield landed flush, but I think fatigue is becoming an issue for both fighters. So we'll see. This is round number 4. So we'll see what happens as time goes on here for 3 more rounds. Well, at least for Charlie Fitch, it's been a little easier job for him this round versus Paul Brown in the previous fight. He had his hands full with those 2 guys.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, look at the posture of Whitefield.
We just lean over and I see him. It's just like he's saying, how many more I got to go?
Like he ran a marathon.
Yeah, and he's already backing up. This is a guy that is extremely winded, and if he's got this freakish punching power, he's hoping that it comes through now. But man, is he breathing hard. He looks like a guy that just ran back-to-back 100-yard dashes, and he hasn't. And it'll be interesting to see as he gets tired, is he still landing the punches, And the only thing he's got going for him is that George seems kind of tired too. And Whitefield is trying to keep this fight as close to his own corner as he possibly can, so he doesn't have to
have a long walk at the end.
Yeah, it's an old trick that veterans use, but it just seems that he doesn't want to be moving around. I mean, there's no bounce in his feet, and his hands are down by his side.
Yeah.
If George had the know-how and the skills, I really don't think Whitefield could get out of this fight.
Yeah, I mean, that last right hand that Whitefield threw, he literally closed his eyes and just threw it, hoping to get lucky.
Here's another thing I'm noticing is that Whitefield is so fatigued that his gloves aren't even closed.
Correct.
He's having a hard time making a fist, And you're talking about slapping. If we thought he was slapping in the beginning, you know. See, I don't know if I'd want to be a judge for this fight, because to me it seems that, how can you give like this round? How can you give this round to Whitfield? Well, maybe that punch just gave him the round. But I mean, besides that, he's not doing much.
I mean, these are guys landing a lot of punches.
You're right.
They really aren't.
And it's a shame because, for an underdog like Eric George, if he was in better condition, he would be taking over this fight.
He has the opportunity.
Yeah.
He really has the opportunity here. He has the opportunity not only to win the fight, but to knock this guy out.
I think that if I'm Eric George and I'm his corner at the end of this round, I'm telling him, you got to knock him out. And that he's there for the taking. Look, Whitfield is so tired that he's leaning forward trying to throw punches as he's leaning. Now that punch was solid. Whitfield just landed a solid punch. Maybe he's getting a second win.
I don't think so.
I don't think, not after that,
no.
Not after that move. But hey, listen, we're going to take a commercial break right at the end of this round. We'll be back in one. And we're back. We're in round 5 of a scheduled 6-round fight in the cruiserweight division. Aleem Whitefield is undefeated, 5-0 with 5 knockouts. He's in the black trunks with the red trim. And his opponent, Eric George, out of Niagara Falls, is 2 wins and 6 losses. It's kind of a close fight, tough fight to score. We have 2 fighters that are extremely tired right now. And I don't know about you, Eric, but I think Aleem Whitefield has less energy right now than Eric George, but Eric George is failing to capitalize on the fatigue factor of Aleem Whitefield.
Yeah, I think it's one guy is very tired, and the other guy is just really happy about it.
And Charlie is ruling that a knockdown, and that could have just saved the fight for Whitefield. It was a chopping blow, but look how tight he is. He's literally leaning on the top rope. And he can't, he's going to look, see, this is almost like a bad thing for this kid, because this is how all of his fights go. He gets tired, then he wins by a late round knockout, and then he figures that he did what he had to do, and he's, obviously not running. Listen, he's in the gym, he's not fat, but he's not doing his road work. And by the way, for all you fighters out there, road work is road work. Don't tell me you're on a treadmill doing road work, because it's not the same. Solid right hand puts Eric George down again. And Eric George is getting a combination of being tired and getting a couple of shots. And as I look over at Whitefield, he's so tired. I got to give him credit for landing these punches and letting, giving himself the opportunity to win this fight by knockout. And this is exactly how his fights go, Eric. He's extremely tired. He lands a couple of powerful shots, and the fight is over.
Well, I mean, that was the first good right hand that he's landed. It was actually thrown correctly, didn't leave the power at the end of it, and he caught him perfectly. It might have been by luck.
Well, we said that both fighters are tired, and George is tired too, but 2 knockdowns in 1 round, it's going to be tough for him to come back from that unless he gets a couple of knockdowns himself. And it's clear that Whitefield is looking for the knockout now. and he's trying anyway. And we got a mouthpiece out again. Now, we all know that a referee can warn him. If he thinks he's spitting it out on purpose, he could disqualify him. And we're going to see he's warning him right now. Charlie Fitch is warning him.
No, he's taking a point, Billy.
He's taking a point. He's physically taking a point. Okay, I thought that he was warning him, but he's taking a point. Eric pointed out, and he's right. Charlie Fitch just took a point away from intentionally spitting out his mouthpiece. Good call by Charlie Fitch. And, if George wasn't in desperation mode before, he's got to be now. Because the only way he can win this fight is if he knocks out Whitfield at this point. Because I don't think you can't say he won all the early rounds.
No.
Okay, we got the 5-second warning here. This round is just about to be over, so we're going to take a look at the knockdown on the replay right now. And we'll see what we saw. There's a solid right hand. Yeah, listen,
first correct right hand he's thrown.
It was the best punch he's landed. Yep. It put Eric George in some trouble. It was a delayed knockdown, and it was a legitimate punch. There's no question about it. It's the 6th and final round coming up. And glad you could join us. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch us. And there's another shot of the second knockdown. I want to thank everybody for joining us. We had a great night of fights. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did here at ringside. And all I can say is next time, come on up to Liverpool, New York, and enjoy it live. Because it was a fun night of boxing, that's for sure. 6th and final round of our main event. Aleem Whitefield is in the black trunks with the red trim. And Eric George, who hit the canvas not once but twice in the previous round. He's in the solid black trunks. These guys are going to touch gloves. They're both extremely tired. Will Whitefield get through this fight and be the first fight that he does not win by stoppage? We'll see. Were they giving him oxygen? Was that an oxygen tank? Yeah, you got to give him credit. I mean, he's looked fatigued. He's looked as fatigued as he does now since the second round, and he's still finding a way to deliver some punches. And that's another knockdown. He's got this deceiving punching power.
Well, that was very deceptive because I missed that.
He caught him on the top of the head, it looked like, and either he's extremely strong or George is extremely tired, or a little bit of both. I have a feeling this fight's going to end with Whitefield going the distance the first time. I know he's put George down a few times, but he's just totally spent here.
Whenever George does manage to land, he doesn't hurt Whitefield, which is amazing because Whitefield is so tired.
Yeah. And I just thought that he would go the distance, and Charlie Fitch just waved it off to keep Aleem Whitefield's now 6-0 with 6 knockouts. I think that was kind of, listen, it was good for him, but bad for him, Eric, because he's cheating himself by not training. And I'm just assuming that, but a young fighter that's got 6 fights under his belt now, who's seemingly out of gas after the second round. Here's an instant replay of the knockdown. Yeah, you're right. There wasn't a punch. You pushed him.
Well, that was the second knockdown, Billy.
It was the second knockdown.
I mean, he's just down from fatigue.
I think
it was a good stoppage because if he can't stay on his feet when he's getting hit with glancing punches, and he doesn't need to take punches for another minute 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, it was an interesting fight. I hope that Aleem Whitefield goes back and watches this fight and realizes that he needs to be conditioned. I mean, he obviously has punching power. He's got power. Here we're going to see a replay of the first knockdown. Solid right hand.
See, I missed. To me, it went over his head.
Yeah, no, it did land. We can't see from the camera angle, but it did. Again, maybe we could watch that one more time. If we can get that replay one more time, we can. We're gonna watch that one more time. So see if you see the punch now. It looks like it landed right on the top of his head to knock out the equilibrium. Here's the shot right now. Yeah, you know, you're right. It looks like
I thought he totally
official
missed
announcement from Mike Ortiz. Mike Otis, I'm sorry.
By TKO, Aleem the Hammer Whitefield.
Here's your official score. Okay, we got just the official time here was 1 minute and 31 seconds of round number 6, the 6th and final round of this fight. So he goes, Whitefield goes to 6-0 with 6 knockouts.